Hey everyone, good evening and welcome to another session of Fertility Yoga. My name's Emily, I'm from the Fertility Network team, and before I pass over to our instructor Annie, I'll just go through our usual disclaimers before the class. When practicing yoga online, it's up to the individual to assess whether they're ready for the class that they've chosen, in this case Fertility Yoga. Obviously, if you suffer from specific injuries or disease, it's best to consult with your doctor first. The practice of yoga requires you to gauge the safety of your practice within your own personal physical limitations. So remember, it's better to build up slowly rather than to force and strain. And while you may feel exertion, you should also feel relaxed. The techniques and suggestions presented in this webinar are not intended to substitute for proper medical advice, and you should always consult your doctor before beginning any new exercise program. Now, the Fertility Network UK and your Annie Perry assume any responsibility for injuries suffered while practicing these techniques. And before I pass over, I'll just say it'd be great to hear any feedback you've got. If you're enjoying the class, if you find it helpful, just let us know by email or social media. That's always really good feedback for us. So I'll pass over to Annie. Thank you.
Thanks, Emily. Hi, everybody. I hope everyone is doing okay, given everything that's going on. And yeah, welcome to any new ladies who are starting with us tonight. I always forgetting to welcome you ladies. I always just assume it's the same ladies every week, but I forget there's new ladies joining every week, so you're more than welcome. And don't be nervous, because I hear a lot of people on social media and things saying, "Oh, I've never tried yoga and I'm nervous." But do you know what? Like, don't be nervous. It's a very yin style class. Yin being like a slower, cooling energy in the body, rather than yang, which is just a perfect complement to just now, because yang is more kind of go, associated with kind of stress, associated with like what we do when we're working and busy. But yin style yoga is the complete opposite, and yin style yoga is what we're after when we're trying to nurture fertility in the body and when we're trying to conceive. Okay, we want that calming, slightly cooler energy in the body, hence why you wouldn't maybe do yoga like a hot yoga or a Bikram yoga when you're trying to conceive, or a really kind of hardcore class. We want to keep things very slow, very meditative in these classes, so you don't have anything to worry about. But we do try and go quite deep into the postures, and we do try and sit for quite a while in them, which sometimes I actually think is harder than the classes that flow bang, bang, bang from one position to the next, because we want to sit here. And sometimes if you're not in a very good frame of mind, you don't want to be alone with your thoughts sitting in yoga positions. So that's the challenge, okay? Breathing through the discomfort, breathing through whatever emotions kind of bubble up and rise up as we're working through. I believe, and yogic philosophy believes, that we kind of store different emotions in different parts of the body, particularly through the chakras, through the heart space, the womb space, things like that, and to the hips, particularly as women kind of stuff all our negative stuff down into the hips. Sometimes when you're working deeply into, say, the hips or heart openers, you get like wee emotions bubbling up, and that's good. Just let them release with no judgment on ourselves, just watching them and releasing, okay? So yeah, I've got a nice wee practice for you tonight, and a nice wee, I always like to associate a positive affirmation with the class. So and we're going to do a really nice meditation about letting go and releasing at the end. So the affirmation that I've decided to use tonight is, I let go of fear, doubt and guilt. Okay, so we're really going to focus on releasing negative emotions tonight. Let me just see what little comments somebody's popped up before we begin, because I don't want to distract our session. Hi, so just a wee question about a polyp in your uterus. You're fine, unless you've got discomfort. Maybe avoid the deep twists if we're doing any twists tonight. I don't think I've got too many, but just be really, really gentle, okay? Oh, highlight of my week too, to be honest. I love it too. A wee break from the crazy, isn't it? Oh, hi, somebody's first session, you're more than welcome. We're not recording this one, but we are looking to get some recorded and popped up so you can watch after, but no, you can't watch after, all right? Right, cool, that's all I can see. And someone else raised a hand and I've no idea to talk, sorry. If you've raised your hand, I'm not good with this. If you've raised your hand, then just ask me your question very quickly, and then we'll get cracking. Right, I'll just watch for your question coming up. Yeah, I can't see you at all. The only people you can just see me, so I can't see into your living room. I know that's the kind of question I'd ask. No, this is a webinar format, so it's not. So I actually do a yoga for fertility class. I do it on a Wednesday night, and we do have cameras on because we chat to each other and we look and blah blah blah. But no, not in these formats. So you don't need to worry. But I saw a comment on one of the, like, when fertility yoga had popped up, Fertility Network had popped up. Someone did it with a tea towel over the camera of their computer. That's the kind of thing I would do. So I'm not slagging off whoever did that, but no, I can't see you at all. I can just see me, which is highly uncomfortable. But hey ho. Oh, you put up your hand by accident. That's cool. Again, that's the type of thing I would do. Right, let's get cracking and just kid on. We're not using technology, okay? Right, so I want you to start in constructive rest. So if you are the first, if it's your first time, you won't know what constructive rest means. But if you've been coming for ages, you'll know that I blooming love this position. And it's on your back, and it's a great way to start your yoga practice, okay? Great way to start and end it, okay? But we're doing everything quite mindfully, so we're going to get there mindfully and slowly as well, okay? So we're going to start off sitting, and we'll just, this is this position called Dandasana, so where the legs are straight out in front, the legs are quite active, we're not kind of taking the toes away, nice and active, but just focus on your spine here. Especially if you've been sitting at a desk all day. There are so many clients telling me this just now, that their backs are broken from sitting at home too much, either working or just not being able to go out. So we're just focusing on a really lifted spine. Take your breastbone, kind of take it a little bit forward, shoulders down. And then from here, we're going to shift into that supine position, which just basically means lying on your back, and we're just going to get there very slowly. So you're going to bring your hands behind and just really begin to lower down. So I like to just bring the pelvis down, settle it down, come onto the elbows, and then you'll feel the sacrum come down, and then melt the rest down of the spine, so into the lumbar curve of the spine and down, okay? And that, because we've sat up there and we've been nice and lengthened through the spine, hopefully now we're lengthened when we're lying down as well. We're going to bend our legs though and bring the feet onto the mat. Don't bring your feet in as if you were going to try a bridge or something, you know. We are going to do a bridge later, but our heels aren't massively close in, just nice and gentle. And hopefully you've noticed that from bending your legs, there's a kind of small relief into the pelvis here. You know, like when you're lying flat, sometimes it can put quite a lot of pressure into the pelvis, but the object of this pose is to just release. And we're looking to release deep muscles here. Deep muscles, like, I'm not talking about your six pack, or lack of it in my book. I'm not even talking about the muscles that are in front of your womb. I'm talking about the ones that are behind it. So more specifically, the psoas muscle, or it's actually like a connection of muscles that really sort of connect onto the spine behind the womb, go right through the middle of the pelvis and actually connect onto the top of your thigh as well. And we want to release that, okay? Often when I'm talking about, say when I was talking about emotions and things stored in the body, see this muscle, this is where we sort of grip fear and stress and anxiety. We kind of grip that muscle. It becomes almost too tight,
and it doesn't hold your womb in a nice position, okay? So what I'm looking for is to release it. So that's why we do this position. I just thought that was interesting for you. Maybe not, maybe you're like, right, you can just can it now, but that's just me. I'm a geek for the psoas muscle. So bring the hands onto your belly now, so right onto the womb space, and bring them into what's called yoni mudra, which is mudras are hand gestures in yoga. And this one, yoni, is just so feminine because it kind of represents the female reproductive system, okay? So bring the index finger together and the thumb, and we're just placing it on the belly. Okay, now when we're here, I want you to close your eyes, and I want you just to begin nice, deep belly breaths. I'm just sitting up so that I can talk a little easier to you, but you guys stay in constructive rest, stay with your hands on your womb space and begin to breathe deeply. And it might not come straight away, particularly if you've been going all day, working all day. Just another wee question from somebody there about being in the 2-week wait. You're totally fine tonight, okay? We'll just keep it nice and gentle, and I'll always give cues for different stages. So just while you're breathing deeply, I'll always give you a cue for the first half of the cycle, for the second half, for post-retrieval, post-transfer, and for the 2-week wait, okay? So if you are in post-retrieval or post-transfer, I do say 48 hours to leave the physical part of yoga, but you're more than welcome to do the breathing, the relaxation, and just do the relaxation at the end, okay? But 48 hours, all right? Hopefully your breathing's coming a little bit deeper now. Hopefully you can feel a real rise and fall of the hands. Perhaps the hands even come apart out of that mudra with the thumb and the index finger together, so they can rise and move apart on the deep belly breath, and then return back to meet. And it's really interesting to see this happen, because this is not how we go about our daily business, is it? This is not where we tend to breathe. This is just, we tend to breathe deep, sort of quite shallow in the chest and without even really noticing. But by moving the breath into the belly, we're actively nourishing that area of the body. Right. Hopefully your breath is much deeper. I'm going to say the affirmation for the class again. I let go of fear, doubt, and guilt. Right, we're staying in this supine position with our knees bent, but we're moving our heels closer. So do you remember when I said don't do that? Well, now we can do that because we're moving into a nice moving bridge. Okay, so we are going to be lifting the pelvis up off the mat and then slowly lowering it back down. So actually it's quite strong into the thighs, so it's quite good for strengthening the thighs, but we're more looking for stimulating key endocrine glands, okay? So one of them is the thyroid gland, which is in the throat, and we're going to tuck our chin down to the chest, and obviously the endocrine glands that are located in the womb space, so your ovaries, okay? Right, so for this, feet are hip width, feet below, so it's like hips, knees, feet, okay? Heels quite close in to give you that kind of weight to, the kind of purchase to come up. Hands start off down by your side, and then when you next inhale, really drive down through the feet, engage the glutes, and lift the pelvis up and off the mat. So a nice big inhale, hands come up and over the head. Plant down with the feet are not rolling onto the side or anything here, the outside of the feet, but you'll notice your chin's nicely tucked down onto your chest. And then do a nice strong exhale, and as you do, bring the spine back down onto the mat and the hands all the way up and over again. And ideally when the hands come down, that's when the pelvis is going down too, okay? So I'm going to leave you to your own devices here. I won't dictate how quick or slow you're doing this, but try and keep it slow and controlled, okay? Inhale, lifting up. Exhale. Close to my mouth there because we're lifting up. This is often the one where you regret your choice of bra and maybe wanted to have gone for a more sports bra, but maybe that's just me. Nice deep breaths as we're doing this, okay? It's not like there's no prizes for getting your hips massive. This isn't a hip workout, you know. I was actually doing these in our hip this morning, but in yoga, it's more mindful than that. It's slow, mindful. It's not about thinking, oh, this is a great workout for the thighs, although it is lovely and strengthening. We are breathing here. We're being deep in just the present moment, okay? All right, we're going to just make your next one your last one, and then we're going to move on, okay? Still staying on our backs. We're getting this energy moving in the womb and in the pelvis, okay? So you're going to bring your knees up and just hook onto them. Just bring your hands round the knees. Now, just a couple of cues then. If you were 2 week weight, if you were on stimulation drugs, we're not going super deep in with the knees here. We're just keeping it gentle with the knees away, okay? So don't squeeze them massively in. And see, to be honest, the rest of the cycle, we're not looking for a deep squeeze anyway. We're going to be massaging the sacrum. So what we want to do is just with the hands around the knees, is start to make circles with the knees as if you're trying to draw on the ceiling. Breath moving in and out. You kind of feel yourself sort of rocking on that bone. So and you might be wondering what a sacrum is. That's fair dues. If you don't know, it's the bone at the back of the pelvis. So you know that kind of diamond shaped bone that meets the pelvis at the back. You'll be feeling it now with the knees moving. We're just giving it a little massage. We're beginning to really work into the pelvis. It's no surprise that in fertility yoga, I do focus a lot on your pelvis because I want to release it, want to get blood flow moving in it. I want to get the sacral chakra activated. Have a wee pause here and take your circles in the other direction as well, okay? So that's why we kind of focus on the pelvis, all about lots of juicy, lovely blood flow getting in to the womb, to the ovary. Okay, coming back into center. So we're going to go a little deeper into the pelvis now, okay, with a position where we take the knees much wider, okay? So bring your knees nice and wide and then bring the soles of the feet towards the ceiling, okay? We're going to go quite deep here depending on your flexibility into your hips, right? But I'll show you various ways you can do this, okay? So the easiest way is just to bring your hands like I have now behind the thighs or just tucked into the wee nook of your knees and just draw the knees down either side of the body. Now the foot is still lovely and flexed here, okay? And sort of right like horizontal to the ceiling. If you want to go deeper and if you can reach there, bring your hands onto the feet and hook round, okay? So we're just drawing down. And if you've made that bind onto your feet, you'll feel a difference, won't you? Because it's like, oh, it is a big, lovely, blissful stretch into the pelvis. the pelvis is really open here. The sit bone's really open, but can you feel that into the lower back? How blissful is that if you've been sitting at a desk all day? Or indeed if you've been on your feet all day, if you have a job where you do have to go out at the moment, and totally salute you if you are. Breathing deeply. So this is another one of these yin style postures that I'm perhaps staying in it a bit longer than you kind of really want me to. You might be saying to yourself, all right, come on, like move on. But that is kind of something in yourself that's saying that, and you need to just breathe through that kind of point of discomfort. Nice, deep, calming breath. Okay, I'll let you release now. You'll be like, thanks the Lord. But how good's that? Come back to constructive rest and just let that blood flow just seep through the pelvis. But we're going to come off our backs now, so we need to get there. And I like just to have a little walk of the knees side to sides. Again, we're releasing the pelvis. And then when I feel like it and I've got a wee bit of momentum, just rolling onto my side, placing hands on the floor and pushing up and taking my knees underneath. We get into cat and cow that way, or table pose first, but then we're going to do cat and cow. If you've been coming every week, you know that this posture is pretty much in it every week, especially since, like, I know everyone's sitting at desks all day. It's so good for getting the pelvis moving in a different way. So we're tilting the pelvis with our cat and cow instead of what we've just been doing on our backs, okay? So hands are below the shoulders, knees below the hips, and we're going to sink down, like dip your navel, so you're really increasing that lumbar curve of the spine. Open your chest, tilt your pelvis, and take your gaze up towards your ceiling. See that thyroid gland, it's getting a good old stimulation here as well. And then when we exhale, really tuck your chin down onto your chest, curl up with the spine, and we're just going the other way, okay? I'll just again leave you to your own devices for about 5 to 10 breaths. You could do these super, like, massively slowly, or you can do them with a bit more flow to them. But remember what I said about slow, mindful movements. Just going to kind of freestyle it here, and the reason I say freestyle, right, is because in fertility yoga we want to just let the hips feel really like feminine and kind of do whatever they're asking us to do. So often that means in a lot of postures where you would normally be static in yoga, you want a wee hip sway, so you want to take the hip side to side. So maybe that's feeling good for you tonight, just swaying the hip side to side. Or another nice thing is like circles. So like you're kind of like shifting your weight kind of away from the hands, like over the hands, and then, you know, coming round. And I don't know if I'm making much sense there, but can you see I'm doing like rocking in circles here? All that just really like stimulating into the pelvis. Nice soft elbows if you're doing the circles, just moving kind of in a circular shape across your back. Okay, and back to center. Right, we're going to come into a position called extended puppy. Quite cute, isn't it, that name? I like that. But it's like just a nice, again, a lovely opening into the pelvis, and we're starting to look at the heart space. that we do that a lot. We open the heart space in fertility yoga, okay? So we're going to walk our hands forward from this table pose where they're under the shoulders, and we're just going to take them like a few kind of paces forward, knees kind of hip width, and then just start to sink your chest down towards the mat and take your gaze kind of forward. So like if we were going to child's pose, we would be bringing the forehead onto the mat, but kind of keep the head up and just gaze along the floor and open into the chest. And you'll feel the pelvis nice and open as well. And then coming back up, walking the hands in, and we're going to come to downward facing dog. All right. The only thing I say about down dog is if you're on your period, we give it a complete miss. We give it we just don't do it, okay? So instead of down dog, if you're on your period, you come down into child's pose. So you just sink down with the bum onto your heels, hands away out in front, forehead onto the mat. All right, no tilting your body upside down when we're trying to support that downward flow. Okay, so down dog. Let's take this slow and steady as well. Hands are below the shoulders, fingers are spread, and you're kind of cupping the mat, if you know what I mean. So the fingers are spread and you're kind of drawing the fingers back so that, see the actual palm of your hand, it's not on the mat. Does that make sense? It's like a sucker pad. Then lift up with the hips. Now this is another one. Sorry, I just need to tuck my jumper in so that use our breathing there in down dog. This is another position that if you feel you want to move your hips, like even just a wee sway side to side in down dog, then work away, like do that. Your pelvis is telling you something. The other thing you can do to make it lovely and soft is just bending one knee and letting the opposite heel move towards the floor. So we'll call that walking the dog. So it's just a lovely way to open up the backs of the legs. Remember to breathe, because sometimes when we invert the body, the first thing we decide to do is just hold our breath till it's all over. We don't want that. We want to be breathing deeply, stimulating the body. So if you're walking the dog and you're bending one knee then the other, just stop that now and just really work into the chest here. So we're opening the chest, really just reminding ourselves that we need to sink the shoulders down in down dog. We need to open the chest. So we're in that beautiful inverted triangle. And then we can drop down. If you ever feel in down dog that it's, you're up there too long, come down into child's pose, no problem. So if you can all come to child's pose now, bringing the bum onto the heels, forehead towards the mat. Let's breathe for a bit there. I think I have another question. I'm just breathing there in child's pose. All right, and then if you can all come back up to all fours. All right, so we're going to move from all fours into pigeon. All right, I love this posture, but it can be a little awkward to get into, but it is just lush for the pelvis. Okay, so if you do have kind of chronically tight hips, a lot of people do, what I would recommend is if you're kind of in your living room and you can just grab off your couch a couple of pillows to have at either side, a couple of cushions, or if you're in your bedroom, grab your one off your bed, okay? And I'll show you what you can do to make this a little easier. Okay, so we come to all fours from our table, and this is how we get into it, all right? So we take our left, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to take my left up in between my hands, okay? You can do whatever side you want first, because we're going to be doing the other side, you know that, don't you? Then take your right hand and just hold on to your left foot and just give it an extra little help to move out. So when you've taken your knee forward, it'd have been underneath the thigh, okay? But this, let me move that cushion, this moving the foot out is where the magic happens, right? This is what gives the extension into the hip joint and really helps to open it, okay? This right leg, lengthen it, take it right the way behind you, okay? Now, this is what I was saying about the pillows. So I don't want your left bum cheek, your left buttock, to sit onto the mat. I want to keep it high just now, and that's where some people really struggle. So you grab your pillow and you just shove it underneath there so that you can kind of rest onto it, and it gives you that a little sense of relief, but you're still getting the openness into the hips, okay? So we're just going to breathe here, lift it up for now, okay? Our chest is lovely and open. We're actually kind of actively sending our chest forward here, and we're just gazing up. So there's lots of lovely good stuff happening here. Okay, I'm going to give you two options, right? If you are second half of the cycle, so ovulation and beyond, heading into your period, if you're on your period as well, you're going to fold forward. All right, so another way to use a pillow is just bring it in front of you, okay? And you're just going to fold forward and just kind of make a pillow with your hands, or fold your arms and bring your forehead onto it. Makes it a really restorative pose. If your first half of the cycle, let's get a little bit more blood flow going, okay? And we'll do that with a nice twist. So you're going to gaze behind you this time instead of gazing forward. So you're going to take your right hand, just bring it onto the right thigh, and you can just rest your left hand on the left thigh actually, and just gaze behind. So nice twist here. It's hard for me to judge if this is what level you're at, because it's a webinar format. If I was in my class, there'd be people unmuting and telling me I've lost the plot, but you know, we're webinar format, so please listen to your body. Okay? If this doesn't feel good, do the more restorative version. If you're literally like, I have had enough of pigeon, just come out and just let the child go. Okay? Just remember to listen to your body. Okay. So if you're in the restorative folding over version, come up. If you're in the twist, turn forward. Hands onto the mat below shoulders, and then just come back up into table. And we're going to just sway the hips from side to side before we do the other side, okay? And that is just so good. Maybe you find pigeon super easy. It doesn't matter. It's still a great position for you to release any emotions that are there in the hips, or to get the blood flow going. So everyone is so different. Remember, everyone's body is so unique. Right, so I'm now opposite side, so I'm taking my right knee forward. So right knee up between the hands. If you can see now, you can see my foot, my right foot is tucked under the thigh. I want to wiggle it out from there. Okay, so then it kind of disappears from the camera because I'm taking it right the way forward. Now the aim is that you've got your shin bone is straight along the top of the mat, but not a lot of people can get there, so don't be worrying about it, okay? And if you need the support, I'll just show you what you do with the cushion. You just bring it underneath your bum, okay? Now we're just going to stay high, everybody together with the hands just resting on the mat. Chest reaching forward, gaze coming up. You might have a side that's tighter. This is definitely my tighter side. You might have a side, this might be your good side and you're loving life at the moment. Or it might just highlight to you that you've got a wee tightness at one side. That's the good thing about yoga. It really
turns you within, and you do notice things about your body that you aren't really aware of. Okay, so if you're going restorative, you're bringing the cushions, you're folding forward. You're either just resting on the elbows or you're totally going for it and just folding forward. If you're doing your twist, then let's do the twist. So we're taking left hand, left thigh, and we're just gazing behind. Remember the breath flowing in and out. Okay, back round to the front. Come out. Sometimes you feel like an old lady coming out of these postures, don't you? Sway the hips side to side. And then we're going to get on our feet. Believe it or not, we've not actually left the mat yet, haven't we not? And it's funny how time goes by and you realise you've not done that. You don't have to, of course, in yoga, but we are going to. So we're going to tuck the toes under. We're just going to lift our knees up. And you kind of find yourself in a little forward fold. We're just going to roll up. Okay, into standing. Right, so let me have a sip. I always get so parched when I'm talking so much. Maybe I shouldn't talk so much. I need a wee drink anyway. Right, so next posture is a squat position. Now this again is not a hip session, so we're not looking to do this for any kind of thigh strengthening, although it will strengthen your thighs. We're actually going like for a more passive squat here. So instead of sitting like this, where your thighs are screaming out for you, you're doing a kind of hip style, like get me out of here. If you can, and not everyone's got the hip mobility for it, we're going to sink right down towards the floor. Okay, so you're kind of going past that hip squat stage and keeping going, all right? So we're going to bring our hands over our heart space. Our feet are about, I say this, and I've never actually measured where the length of my feet, but can you see they're wider than hip width? And then we sink down, okay? So the knees are lovely and wide, toes are nice and wide, and we're sinking down. And then you're going past that kind of squat stage and you're going right down. If you can't get all the way down, do one of those hefty squats that have got you like crying out and breathe your way through it, and then just come up, have a little rest and come back down if you literally don't have the hip mobility for coming all the way down. What I'm looking for here is opening the pelvis, really just stretching the lower back and just breathing deeply, okay? Now you can, again, remember I said about hips being like, if you feel your hips wanting to move in these postures, you can have a little rock side to side, really help you open. You can also pop your elbows to the inside of the thighs, inside of the knees to help with that opening of the knees. Breathing deeply. So in some cultures of the world, like they squat all the time, just to go about their daily business. A lot of kind of, I'm thinking more of Indian culture, Asian culture, maybe not perhaps in modern day, but they do this a lot and we don't. And see, for women's health and pelvic health, it's really important for really helping to stimulate blood flow and really good for the back as well. Okay, we're going to release now. Sometimes it's harder to get out of this posture than it is to get in it. So hands apart, hands onto the floor, push into the floor and just lift up. And then uncuddle up. It just feels lush, doesn't it? So all that lovely blood flow is getting going there. Right, we're going to go a wide-legged forward fold. All right, so I'll give you a couple of options here as well for different parts of your cycle. Nice wide legs, kind of as wide as you can get them comfortably, really. Toes pointing forward. All right, so remember when we fold forward here, I'm not giving out any gold medals for where your hands go, right? And sometimes people, that's the temptation. I want to get as far over as I can. But then all you see from them is this really curved spine and a really closed over heart space. Personally, I think you're better dialing it back and having, especially in fertility yoga anyway, keeping the heart space lovely and open and keeping the back quite straight, okay? And if that means you can't fold over as far, you go. All right. The options I'm going to give you is just folding over gently into a wide leg forward fold, or if your first half of the cycle and you want to add that lovely twist through the centre line, then you lift up the hands and twist. But I'll give you that cue when we fold forward, okay? We'll inhale, lift and lengthen. So really lift the spine, open the chest, relax the shoulders, and begin to tilt the pelvis forward. And it's like this lovely open chest is leading you over, okay? So fold over and then just bring the hands wherever they go comfortably. If they come to the floor, then that's fine. If they don't come to the floor and you're miles away, another nice thing to do is just fold the arms like over and just let them kind of dangle and the weight of them pull you over. But what everybody's going to do is gaze between your legs. So regardless of how far you've folded over, your gaze is behind you now, and their head's dead heavy, and the crown of the head is just leading over towards the ground. But again, there are no prizes getting posted out. Okay, so just breathe it out, breathe deeply. Right, that twist I was telling you about. So if you're not doing the twist, just hang out in your forward fold. If you are doing it, bring the left hand quite central to the middle of the feet and lift the right hand up towards the ceiling. So we're really lifting the body again, but we're gazing up to that hand. And we'll come down on this side and we'll go over to the other side. If you're not doing the twist and you've had enough of your forward fold, just uncuddle nice and slowly and come down and uncuddle up. Everybody, how nice does it feel? I would love coming out of a forward fold. It's like a wee buzz into it, a wee buzz into your head. So let your the blood flow just return to normal. Oh, I've forgotten a posture. I've forgotten two postures. I got excited there with the squats. I'm going back a couple of bits in my class plan. So we're going to come in with our feet and then we're going to do a side angle posture, okay? This is another great one into the hips, all right? So we're going to, for this one, we're going to take a nice, so come up if you're on a mat, right? Come up to the front of it and then take a nice big step back with the right foot. Quite wide, and sometimes you can't do it in one like I did there. You need to shift your foot, and then maybe you just need to adjust your front foot so that the knee is above it, okay? So we're going to sink quite deep here. All right, so our knee is above the ankle, the back foot, the right foot, my mind is the right foot is nice and far back. And we're just going to rest our elbow onto that front knee. We're going to make sure it's a side angle, okay? We're not into a lunge here. So our body is open. So the shoulders drawn back. That right side of the pelvis is drawn back. And just lift up and over with the hand. If that feels pretty like you're not really stretching into your hips much, you can, instead of resting the elbow, you can bring the hand to the floor.
at the inside of the foot. Excuse me. And then we'll come up and we'll step forward and we'll go to the other side, okay? So we'll now take our left foot back, nice and wide again, just edge your foot back. Bend into the front knee and just adjust so that the knee's above the ankle. Sitting down, elbow onto the knee, lifting up and over, torso nice and open. And lifting up, stepping forward, okay? Another standing posture that I missed out but I want to do is Trikonasana, Utthita Trikonasana, which means triangle pose. So essentially what our bodies are going to do is make the shape of a triangle on the mat, okay? And what you really want to be aiming for here is, it's a lovely stretch into the hips, but I want you to try and think of yourself as creating lots of space in the torso, so we're really lifting up and creating length in the torso. And what the other thing to think of in Trikonasana is being like flat as a pancake. So this is a really weird analogy, right? But you know, like your toaster, and you pop a bit of bread into it. Try and visualize when we get into this position, you're popping yourself into it, and you'll see what I mean in a minute, okay? So we're going to take a step back with the right foot, not as wide as we just were, okay? So much narrower, and the feet are nice and lined up, okay? So either heel to heel or heel to instep. Play around because you want to feel nice and balanced, all right? But the feet are in line. And then we're not bending either leg, okay? We're keeping them nice and straight. So this is where I want to talk about the whole toaster thing, right? So your hands come onto your pelvis and feel how nice and flat the pelvis is just now, okay? It's along the long end of the mat, it's nice and flat. The torso is lovely and flat. The shoulders, nice. There's no like shoulders reaching forward, okay? This is where we're going to try and stay as we fold over this front leg, all right? So we're bringing the hands out nice and wide. We're driving down into the feet, we're engaging the legs, the pelvic floor, we're lifting and lengthening the torso, and then we're kind of reaching over the straight front leg, and we're taking, so I've got my right hand towards the ceiling, left hand towards the foot. Now, if you've slid too far down your leg because you think you need to reach dead far down your leg and your shoulders collapsing and that pelvis is folding forward, then lift yourself up a bit on your leg and open up your body again. Okay, so this is all about the torso and the hips. Okay, yes, you get a beautiful stretch into your legs at the same time, but really it's just more about opening up. And lift and lengthen, and we'll do the other side. So a really good way to test yourself on that and make sure you're being kind of honest with yourself is, I do this all the time, I reach down too far on my mat and I think, oh no, I am really, really flat. And actually, if I was to come, just move this big bolster, if I was to come against the wall, stand against the wall and do the same thing. So let's do, now I've made a mess. So let's do the other side, right? So now it's your other foot forward. So it's my right foot forward, my left foot back. And I'm right against the wall here, right? My shoulders touching, bum, hands. And then I fold forward and I'm keeping myself nice and flat. I can't reach as far down my leg as I thought I could. Does that make sense? It's beautifully flat, and it's a lovely way to just check your technique in Trikonasana if you do stand against a wall and do it. I'm not asking you to do that now because you might not have wall space clear, but just test it out. Okay, lift and lengthen. Really, it's harder against the wall, believe it or not. even though you're supported. It really is. Let me fix the mess I've made, and then we'll move towards the floor. Okay, that's all our standing postures for tonight. We're now going to do a couple of little forward folds. So I'm just going to quickly knock the camera forward because I'll be seated. Right. Right, so we'll do a position called head to knee pose. So this is where we take our left leg nice and straight and we're going to bend the right leg. Okay, so with the right leg, we're drawing it up. So we're taking the heel and really trying to draw it quite far up. The right knee just kind of melting towards the floor. The left leg nice and active with the toes nice and active as well. Okay, I'm now drawing attention to the torso. And if I'm being honest with myself, I'm slumping a bit. I'm not lifting and lengthening enough. My pelvis is collapsing and I'm not lengthening, right? So I'm going to draw my attention to the hips and we're going to lift up with the hips. Lift up through the whole spine. And then we're going to be folding over this straight leg, okay? Again, there isn't any prizes for how far your hands get down your leg, okay? I like to have a nice big inhale and a lift, okay? Then we're going to start to reach over towards, and I say towards the foot. If it doesn't go, then hey ho. It's all about a gentle curve in the spine, not a massive curve in the spine. And we're just kind of being quite gentle here. If you can't get for the foot, sometimes it's quite nice just to bring the hands either side of the leg and just kind of use the head to reach beyond the knee. Whatever feels good for you. Remember your breathing. Okay, and release. And then we'll switch to the other side. Okay, just adjust. The other thing I forgot to say is just make sure both sit bones are nice and equal here. We're not kind of lifting one side of the bum off the mat. Inhale, lift, exhale, folding over, either hands towards the foot or hands either side of the leg. Okay, lifting up, and then we're going to bring both soles of the feet together and knees bent, so Cobbler Pose, another firm favourite of mine for enhancing fertility, because it opens the hips and pelvis, but it also opens the heart space, which I love as well. Okay, so we're going to bring our feet together, so the soles of the feet coming together and the heels coming towards like the sit bones. Just adjust. I always take me ages to adjust into Cobbler Pose because I want to adjust now so that I can really sink deeply. So I was just having a wee rock side to side there because I want to feel like I'm giving each side of my body equal weight. We're sitting down through the sit bones, and I'm bringing my hands around my ankle. You can also bring your hands into a nice little basket and float your feet in, whatever feels good for you. And then this is another one that's totally linked into hip flexibility, and everyone's different with that. There's genetics involved most of the time, to be perfectly honest. And sometimes when you're sitting in this position, your knees feel like they're way up at your oxters, and that's fine. Just as if whatever you are with your knees, like breathe and release and let go and send your knees a little millimeter closer to the ground. And whether that doesn't look like much, believe me, internally it's doing masses. Okay, the other thing I want to tell you while you're in cobbler is you're sending your knees to the floor, which is a nice hinge into the hips. It's really open in the hips. But I don't want you again to collapse and the shoulders crunch up. I want you to open the chest, shoulders nice and relaxed. And you're just going to breathe here. Then you're going to we're staying the same with our legs. We're going to release our hands and we're going to bring our hands behind us and just place them on the floor behind and really push into them and really lift up with the ribs and the chest and really squeeze together with the shoulder blades at the back and gaze up towards the ceiling. And breathe deeply here. And then come forward. And we're still staying here just for a couple more breaths before we move to Savasana. So this channel, so we opened the heart a lot there. We've really worked into the womb space and the pelvis. So we've really stirred up a lot, okay? I want you just to remind you of that little meridian. I mentioned this a lot in class, but it's so beautiful. In Chinese medicine, there's a firm belief that the meridian between the heart center and the womb space is really, really linked to fertility. So with that in mind, we're just placing a hand onto the womb space and another hand over your heart, right in the center of your chest. And just a few deep breaths here. And I want to say that affirmation again for you, okay? I let go of fear, doubt, and guilt. All right, my ladies and gents, if we've got any partners joining us, which I know we do sometimes as well, we're ready for the best bit, your relaxation, all right? So get yourself ready. If you're coming out of this, you know, we've worked our hips a lot tonight, haven't we? Like, be gentle, bring your knees in, straighten your legs and give them a good old wobble before you get into final relaxation pose or corpse pose. Remind you to get warm, so remind you to pop a little pair of socks on, grab a little throw, a wee hoodie, because we want it for all. Remember at the start I said I don't want yang energy, I don't want you sweating buckets, but see that energy we've cultivated, that yin energy, we want to keep that. We don't want a cold women, feet being cold really again, Chinese medicine again, really affects your womb. So nice wee socks on, okay? And get yourself cozy and comfy lying down on your back, all right? I'm just grabbing a little meditation from my phone here, so I'm not looking at my phone. Well, I am looking at my phone, but I'm looking at it to get my little meditation script. All right, so I'll let you guys get comfortable. There we go, got it. Okay. I know you need a couple of minutes, so I'll just give you a little wee minute to settle down. All right, so the meditation is called I Release and I Let Go. Okay, really, really appropriate. I know so many of you are going through really, really tough journeys, I know. And sometimes you just need to take that load off your shoulders, okay? You need to just hand it over and just enjoy being in the present moment in time, all right? So that's kind of what this is all about, all right? So when you're comfortable, I want you to close your eyes over. and really draw your attention to all the points on your mat that are connected with the floor. So if you're lying on your back in Savasana position, your spine is lengthened, your arms and hands are away from the body. They're not zipped up next to the body, they're slightly apart from the body, and the palms are facing uppermost, and your fingers are just lightly curled. Your legs are apart, they're not zipped up together either. The heels are apart from each other, and the toes are just flopping out to the side. So I know for a lot of people, lying in this final relaxation position can be uncomfortable because it's bringing discomfort into the hips. If that's the case, then perhaps trying bending the knees slightly, feet flat on the floor, and just bring a couple of cushions or bolsters under your knees can be a nice wee alternative, all right? And then I want you to picture yourself in your mind's eye lying on a beautiful blue velvet cloak, and your body is just lying on this beautiful lush softness, and it's beginning to really release and let go. It's beginning to really soften. Shoulders are just drifting down even more, and the spine feels wonderfully lengthened, and all those muscles at the side of the spine are just kind of widening and relaxing. The pelvis is just beautifully soft, and perhaps there's little emotions stirred up in the pelvis, and that's fine. We just let them rise up with no judgment. And you're focusing again on the breath. The breath slowly moving in and out of the body. You're noticing the sensations of the breath. You're noticing that the breath feels quite cool when you inhale. There's a pause of the breath, and then there's a warmth as you exhale. A little bit of attention to the face and the jaw. Have a little check in with the jaw and see if you're maybe harbouring a little tension in the jaw that you didn't even know was there. Just let it slacken and soften. Feel all the little frown lines on the forehead soften and release. The eyes feel like they've closed so deeply that it really would be a massive effort to open them. I release and I let go. I feel the discomfort. I feel where it's located in my body. I embrace it and I send it love. I now let go of it. I release it like a heavy weight. I allow it to drop from where it is in my body, and I allow it to drop to the bottom of my body, where it exits my body and drops into the earth. It keeps sinking and sinking deep into the earth, all the way to the center of it. And as it is sinking to the center, all of the negative vibration attached to it is gently being cleansed away by Mother Earth. It's being washed away totally and completely. It's now all gone, and it is replaced by a brand new, positive, high vibration energy. This positive, pristine, and clean energy is now returned to me, and I allow myself to receive it, and I am receiving it now, fully and completely, as it enters my body in the same place where it exited. I continue to allow myself to receive more and more of it, openly and joyfully, as I bask in the peaceful, soft feeling of it, as it soothes and nurtures my body, my mind, and my soul. All is well. So with that in mind, that sense of release, I am going to leave you now. I'm bowing to you and saying namaste, which means the divine light in me honours the divine light in you. Even though we are not together, we are over a webinar format, still we can send out energies into the world and receive them too. So I'm going to leave you, and if you want to stay in deep relaxation, I'm just going to leave the music running, just so that you can gradually wake yourself up. But thank you so much for coming, okay? Really, really appreciate it.